I learned to shred 5 key moments that changed everything. Hello and welcome to another video with me, Elmo Karjalainen. It's good to have you along. Today I'm going to be sharing with you 5 key moments that basically changed everything in my quest to learn how to shred. Without these, I probably wouldn't even have learned to play, well, basically much of anything. At least some of these. So, without further ado, number 1. When I was 11, my dad bought me my first electric guitar. It was an East German lead star, a kind of, I think it was white with black lightning, or the other way around, I forget. And, I mean, it was okay for the time. This was around 1990, and beginner guitars back then were horrible. It didn't stay in tune, but I loved it, and yeah. I basically just did this all the time. So I decided to get lessons. So I did get lessons, and I proceeded very quickly to learn nothing much. And basically after a year I almost quit. My mum talked me into continuing for a year, which I'm very grateful for. And during the second year, at some point, my guitar teacher was ill or something. He was away for some reason, and I had a substitute teacher, and he was kind of different because he asked me what I was into, and I'm sure my regular teacher asked me what I was into, but the difference here was that he actually was interested and proceeded to try to teach me something along the lines of what I was interested in. I was interested in Gary Moore, and he looked at how I played and said, "You're holding the pick all wrong." And yeah, so... But that's still not the first kind of real big moment, because the real big moment came when I decided to swap teachers, because my regular teacher, he'd been saying things like, don't worry about playing fast, you'll never get gigs that way. And he meant well, but that's not what you say to a 13-year-old. And it was killing my motivation. I had motivation, but I was learning all the wrong things. It's like if you want to learn rock and roll, there's no point in you learning classical music, or vice versa. There's nothing wrong with either, but you should be learning the stuff that interests you. And I swapped teachers. My new teacher was called Sasha, and he was brilliant. He asked me, "What do you want to play?" What is the moral of the story? Sight reading. Well, it could be the moral of the story. It's no use in learning sight reading if that's not what you're into. Like I already said with classical music, I was learning sight reading with my old teacher, but my new teacher, Sasha, asked me what I wanted to play. I said Gary Moore. He said, "Get your bend sorted, do the spider exercise." So now I started actually putting in the hours. That was number 1. Having fun, learning what you're interested in. Number 2, after I had taken lessons from Sasha for a while, I went on a summer break, because I assume it was around late March, April, early April-ish when I started taking lessons from Sasha, and he taught me bends and vibrato and the spider exercise. Not that I knew it was called that, but still. And I went away over the summer, and when I came back, probably August, he said, like he always said at the beginning of every lesson, "Show me your vibrato." So I promptly proceeded to show him something along the lines of... And he proceeded to pretty much scream at me. This is a rough translation. "What the kind of a countryside vibrato is that?" No offense to anyone who's from the countryside, this was just because I'd spent all of my summer in the countryside, where there's a lot of other things to do, like fishing, the sunshine, contemplating the meaninglessness of life. Don't know where that came from, but basically doing all kinds of stuff apart from playing guitar. So that's what I've been doing, and my vibrato had suffered. So I went home scared, because Sasha is a big guy. And I was still only probably 14, because I turned 14 that summer. And I really worked on my vibrato. And that was out of fear towards him, basically. But that turned into something else. He never screamed at me again. I had a kind of healthy respect for him. But I proceeded to actually want to learn. I learned before the summer break, and then I kind of forgot, went back to bad habits, and got a kick up my backside and went towards good habits. And you are your habits. So that's number 2, getting a good old kick up the backside. Number 3, I was learning the spider exercise. And so on. And I was doing it in what I consider to be a very good way, which is to use a metronome, at least on occasion, to measure progress. So that way when you hit a certain target, you have your next target. I was very competitive about this, even though I had no competition apart from myself, but I always wanted to better my time. And then I got stuck. And that happens. We learn like this, basically, or it might be like a small, and then we get a huge bump, and then we kind of get stuck, and then it kind of goes, and so on. But I was stuck for a long time, and I was getting frustrated and probably a bit bored as well with the whole exercise. But then I found Steve Vai. Well, I had heard of Steve Vai, and I'd heard his playing, at least Eat 'em and Smile. I'm not sure about Passion and Warfare at this point, but still. I found his 10-hour guitar workout thing in Guitar World. And that started with, basically, if I remember correctly, with the spider exercise and then with variations on that. And the one that really helped me was this one. So, you start each string or, position with new fingers. You start with index finger, then middle finger, then ring finger, then pinky. The tab was on the screen. And the thing about that it was something kind of new, even though it was the same thing, but it was interesting to me. And I practiced that together with the regular spider exercise. I might have done something else as well, like where I swap positions every string. But the thing was, that gave me more things to do, which were very similar, and they kind of supported each other, but they made it more interesting for me, and I wasn't so frustrated and basically bored. And that allowed me to get out of that rut, that plateau, and take my next steps forward, which was brilliant. Number 4. Back in the dark days, in the 1990s, before the internet, when people had just invented fire, there were these things called instructional videos, chief among which were REH, who had a whole bunch of instructional videos with all sorts of guitar gods teaching their techniques. Now, this was, like I said, the days before the internet, and it was really rare for mere mortals to get lessons with one of the big ones. And I remember watching a whole bunch of these, and especially Yngwie Malmsteen's instructional video. Why was this such an important moment? Well, actually, this kind of is number 4 and number 5. But number 4 is basically, I knew exercises, I'd learned scales and modes by this point. I could play the exercises fairly comfortably, and my playing, basically, it sucked. It was a shift from exercises and all that to actual licks that you could use in a musical setting, because that spider exercise thing, play that over a song and you don't have to play anymore after that. Licks are musical vocabulary, and I learned a bunch of licks from the Yngwie Malmsteen REH video. Of course, I'd known licks before that, but this kind of shifted the focus towards licks from exercises. I basically stopped doing exercises and just started doing licks. And again, guitar playing became more interesting, because I think I'd gotten a bit bored with exercises, and I knew the scales and modes, and doing exercises based on those were a bit boring as well, or was a bit boring as well. And learning licks, it kind of opened up an infinite world of stuff that you could learn and then you could use in an actual musical setting. So number 4 is licks, but like I said, this video gave me something else in terms of shredding, which was even more important, and that's number 5. You've probably all heard the phrase, if you can play it slowly, you can play it fast, or something along the lines of start slow and build up speed. And you know what? Rubbish. Now, it's true in a sense, but it's only half of the equation. Think about it this way. You're running, or you're training to run a 100-meter sprint. And you train by going out and you walk 100 meters. What's that going to accomplish? Nothing. Playing something slow is not the same as playing it fast. People say, if you can play it slow, you can play it fast. Start slow, then play it fast. And yes, that is partly true. Start slow, but playing something slow is different to playing it fast. It's different movements, smaller movements. It's not just faster movements. It's like this. Let's say you're playing just one note. The motion of my right hand is pretty big. If you want to play that quickly, the movements are smaller. It's a bit different. What the Yngve Malmsteen DVD, what the Yngve Malmsteen video gave me was a gung-ho approach. I probably already had a bit of a gung-ho approach, but it kind of reinforced that. I kind of tossed aside the whole play it slow thing and just went for it, and that increased my ceiling. It didn't increase my accuracy, it increased my ceiling. And then gradually I took the whole accuracy thing along as well. I'm not the most accurate guitar player in the world, partly because I don't care too much. That's not the most important thing. But it gave me that gung-ho attitude, and the play it slow first is kind of half of the equation. The gung-ho thing is the other one. You have to push your boundary. So let's say this is your ceiling in terms of speed. If you're gonna just do this and play it accurately and all that, and you'll probably improve your accuracy, but you won't push that boundary. That's why something like doing this, moving on both sides of the boundary, is probably a good idea. So when you notice I can't do that, you go back to there, and then you kind of increase, and after a while that's pushing your boundary. John Petrucci said something in his instructional video, Rock Discipline, which sounds like a really stupid name. Discipline in rock. Rock is supposed to be bah! That's in my book. No disrespect to John Petrucci, but he said something which really stuck with me, which was, if let's say you're playing 100 beats per minute, something, whatever, and that's your ceiling, go from 98 to 100 and then to 102 or 104, and when you can't do 104, suddenly 100 will seem a bit easier. That's kind of the whole idea. You push that boundary. If you're just doing accuracy below your ceiling, you ain't pushing no boundaries. So just to recap, and I think these can really benefit you kind of regardless of level, because these are things that I've noticed on occasion that I've lost sight of, let's say. So the first one is just, you need to have fun. It needs to be fun, relevant to what you want. That doesn't mean it will always be fun. You will be frustrated and all that. Do variations on one thing. If it's one thing that you're doing, try doing variations that support that one overall thing, to stave off boredom and frustration and all that. That can really help. Sorry, that was number 3. Number 2, be on the lookout for bad habits and try to stick to good habits. Try to avoid being lazy. Sometimes it takes a kick up the backside. Measuring your progress can help if you don't have a teacher, so you might notice stuff that way. A teacher is a good thing to have if you have a good teacher, that is. A bad teacher is not a good thing to have. Learning musical vocabulary can be extremely good. I mean, the more you can say on your instrument, regardless of if it's shred or if it's just whatever, is always a good thing. And variety keeps things fresh, like licks did for me. And then we have the whole start slow, play it fast later thing, which is just half the equation. Gung-ho, that can be good as well. You need both things. So these are some of the things that helped me on my journey to learning how to shred. Hopefully they can help you, but without the right way of practicing, you probably won't get very far. So if you want to watch a video on how to practice, regardless of if it's shred or just guitar in general, there's a video here. Other than that, I hope you consider supporting the channel via one of the links in the description. But above all, I hope you had some use of this video. I hope you enjoyed it. And I hope you have a nice day. Take care. See you. Bye.